This is the book we are studying. So keep it, this is yours. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Our apologies for the late, for the online people, for the late start. We went to see this wonderful temple, the Sringeri Mutt's Sharada temple close by, and they had a Pradosha Puja today. Ours is tomorrow. So that took a little longer time, and we didn't want to get up in the middle of that. So we completed that, and that's how we are back. Anyway, we are back about 45 minutes late, 1 hour late actually. So I'm open to any questions that you have, and happy to answer anything amongst the people that are there. And if not, then we will close it, call it a day. It's up to you. Yes.
Guruji, in today's, when we were studying the ignorance section, the verses, it only mentions about the body, that body is, it's not pure, it's impure, and Atma is pure, but it never mentions anything about the mind.
Yeah, so oftentimes this kind of a, so actually what it means is that it includes the mind. So this kind of a singling out of a single category, even though it represents, it doesn't do that because it says that they're all related. So this is, I think, what is called upalakshana. Upalakshana means that you just have a representation of the whole family. So yeah, it includes the mind also.
Okay.
So sometimes the commentator will specially, and I think we will do, there's a couple of places where, so the defects of the body and the mind both are separately enumerated. Body's problems are very easily, any disease that you have, ill health, that's all part of the body problems. But the mind has its own issues, and that one is less clear to us as sadhakas, but they're there. And so once you decide what do you mean by the defects of the body, then those summarizations become very useful. And so in short, the problems of the mind have to do with the intensity of your desire, the intensity of your raga dvesha, resulting in krodha, etc., etc. So what is said is that in some senses, the mind is the carrier of the vasanas. See, the body is as a result of the vasanas. And the body does not really represent new action on your part. It does to a certain extent, because if you eat poorly, then your health suffers and you may shorten your life. So it is somewhat important. But much more important are the diseases of the mind. And that means the following. What happens, I think, is that each one of us, as we begin to look for ways of gaining freedom and happiness, we are tied down by our mind that is doing the wrong things. And so it takes us in the wrong direction because of the very familiar kind of things, kama, krodha, bhoga, moha. These are the things that are talked about, that the desires that are not needed, included in this, for example, if you look at any one faction, food is a wonderful thing and one should enjoy it and be nutritious about it. But then we have a desire for good food, for tasty food, different, we haven't had Chinese food for a while. Now we have to go Italian. So those kinds of, and that is all because of vasanas. Because you already have some embedded vasanas in the past because it was enjoyable. Remember, this is what we were talking about earlier, that example of the Seth who was under the spell of his servant. So similarly here, the mind, so this is one of the diseases of the mind. The mind says, let's have some pleasure. Let's go to this restaurant. And so you feel like, we should just have some nice simple food. But the mind says, no, I think we should have this. Let's do that. I'm very happy that food prices in California have become so expensive. I'm telling you, if we had some vasanas for doing that, they're diminishing. Literally impossible. I cannot believe this. I mean, entree prices $35, $40, and that does not include salad is extra, soup is something, and dessert, tax. Oh my God, you cannot walk out with less than $75, $80 per person. It never used to be like that, Soups were $5, the entrees were $15, and you could get out by about $30 or so. And this has all happened so quickly. This is Ishvara Kripa, I tell you. Ishvara Kripa. It's good. So the diseases of the mind have to do with the fact that it takes you in the opposite direction to where you are going to. You want Vairagya. You read books and you say, everybody should have Vairagya. So you say, yes, me too. I will definitely do that. But then mind comes in and says, Vairagya can wait. Why don't we have fun right now? So these are the diseases of the mind that are enumerated, and they are included sometimes in the description of the Deha. So yeah, they're all included.
Okay, thank you.
Guruji, in verse 24, we say Satchidananda Lakshana. In the Mandukya verse 7, it says Alakshanam. So how do we compromise with that? In the seventh verse, where it says Adishtam, Avyavaram, Agraham, Alakshanam.
Alakshanam.
Yeah. So it's talking about Satchidananda. Are they Lakshans or they're not?
That's a good question. Let me think. Lakshanam. Sorry?
No.
Is it? Let me see. No, there it is not a Lakshana. Where, with the, Bahai Brahma eva aham samaha shanta Satchidananda Lakshanaha. So there's no O there, right? There's no O there. So it is Lakshana, Gram. So, 24. So, Alakshanam. So the only thing, I'll have to review that, Surendra, to see what the Alakshanam in the 7th chapter means. But my thinking is, it means it is not something that you can point to. You know? So the Lakshana of Brahman, Satchidananda, really is indirect. It is indirect. And it's indirect in the explanation that we gave through Swami Akhandananda's explanation. One which is not dependent. One which is not visible. One which, etc., etc. So, in some sense, the Satchidananda Lakshana is not something that you can directly point to. So, it's not like the Sat is something that is visible to you. So, it has to be inferred that I am not like the things in the world. So, it is an indirect one, and could be expressed as a lakshana that way. So that's my, but I will remember your question, and I will, when we go back to California, I would look it up to see how the Shankara Bhashya is, and interpretations from both Swami Maheshananji and Swami Akhandananda. I will get back to you.
Question about the Sakshi that you were talking about today. That's something that Swamiji, Paramatmananda ji brought it up also. He said, I don't know whether you were there that day or not, but he, and everybody talks about Sakshi, and it's, it's not Sakshi when it's Sakshi. And you brought it up immediately within a week or two in your class. I think Panchadashi, you brought it up. So again, you brought it up again today. A lot of people think of Sakshi, as themselves. So that's kind of, is that something that the Vedas use as an adhyaropa on, like a creation to build up on it? Or, you're saying when you think of yourself as Sakshi, it's Vaitam. So is that an intermediate step, or is that, how should we think about it?
Yeah, so Sakshi is the first step. That's really what it is. A very important first step, going in the wrong direction. But all we were saying earlier is that like a ladder that has several steps before you go to the top where you want to be, if you just sit on the first step, you're making a mistake. It is not just Sakshi for the reason that I mentioned. The reason is that by purely saying I'm the Sakshi, you are not explaining what the Sakshya is, what you are witnessing. So you leave that duality untouched. You are simply concerned with one half of it. What about the other half? Oh, well, I don't know about the other half. All I want to do is that I'm a Sakshi. Yes, you are a Sakshi. But the Sakshitvam is not useful to you until the Sakshitvam is complete with Advaita. And having Dvaita means there is something left to be done because there is another half that you haven't explained yet. And so that is what the completion of the Sakshitvam is. But yes, to begin with, of course, you have to start with the Sakshi. No doubt about that. But all it is saying is don't stop there. You made a good beginning, now let's go on. And all of that is going to come later on. So yes, we are only in the beginning stages of it. Yeah. Yes, Rani.
So you mentioned that Swami Akhandananda kind of describes or looks at the teachings from three different viewpoints: a yogi viewpoint, a bhakta viewpoint, and then a Vedantic viewpoint. So yogi being more, they're just looking at things inside, and the bhakta is relying on their God or Ishdev and looking at things from outside. But a Vedantic is trying to look at both inside and outside and kind of amalgamate that together, right? So should we or could we consider the yogi state and bhakta state as pre-steps to Vedantic, or they completely three exist entirely on their own all the way, and you can go from one to the other, but there's no real progression per se?
So the answer to that is that as sadhana, both of them are very useful. But as sadhya, no. If it is the end in itself, no. That doesn't really work. So similarly for the meditation, and yogic meditation, as a sadhana, we completely endorse it. All the Ashtanga yoga, all the ways of, there's an echo there, what? You have to turn it up. So the meditation, etc., the steps of yogic practices and so on is extremely useful, wonderful. But as if you attended those classes in California which we are going to do here again, about the Nididhyasanam, that if you mistake the preparation to be completion, this is not correct. It doesn't lead to it. So yes, we endorse, and the bhakti is the same thing. Really speaking, the bhakti, it's not that we reject bhakti, but we do not endorse bhakti without understanding. So there the example, just to give you an example of that, I think Swami Dayanandaji had given this example, that suppose you have a very big scientist like Einstein invited to give a convocation in a college, which probably has happened, so it's not completely out of the way. So supposing you invite Einstein to give an annual convocation at Harvard, let's say. And Harvard has a tradition that one of the best students in the area will do the introduction, something like that, supposing you have it. So the student gets up and says, I am very happy to invite all of you to this wonderful talk by Dr. Einstein. And he is a very accomplished person, and we all know that he is the author of one of the greatest equations in the world. This is what they will do. This is what they will do. Why? Because they don't understand what he does, really speaking. They have been just asked to talk about it. So they are also bhaktas in a way because they are devoted to, they've heard a lot about Einstein. But suppose there is another Nobel Prize winner in theoretical physics who's been asked to introduce Einstein. What his introduction would be like? his introduction will be imbued with an understanding of what this person has done. His talk, his exposition, his explanation, all of that would be so much deeper. His bhakti would be imbued with understanding. So this is exactly what our recommendation is. That the best way to appreciate Dakshinamurti is to understand what he really represents. The enormity of what he represents. You can do puja, this is wonderful, and we do it, we love it. But if the puja is accompanied by an insight into the amazing way the Ishvara works, that is the real bhakti. So therefore, bhakti is useful, but not as a sadhya. It is really the knowledge of the enormity and the wonderful nature of Ishvara in detail. And the best thing you can do is to bring it home, because you say, my God, this is how, the human being also works as the same way. We will really do all of this. In that the way I also see is that I am also independent, but I have the ability to expand my knowledge in terms of what is visible to others. So it is exactly the same thing as Ishvara works also, except that I am under the control of the whole world, where he is the creator of the whole world. He's a magician, I am under the spell of the magic. So, but otherwise, the understanding of bhakti is useful in jnanam. The best form of bhakti is jnanam. And the best form of samadhi is also jnanam. So both of them are useful as tools, but not as the final goal. That's the way we would look at it. We have a rule. If nobody speaks for about 20 seconds, we terminate the class. So now the clock is ticking. You have 15, 14. So I think you know this, so just to be clear about this, tomorrow our evening class has been shifted from 4:15 to 5 o'clock, and then we will have the Pradosha Puja here from 5 onwards, and I'm not quite sure of the sequence of the pujas from 5 to 6:30. So whether they will be still an evening puja or not, that I'm not sure of. But in any case, our class will end at 5 o'clock tomorrow. 4:15, 5 to 6. So tomorrow it will be earlier at 4:15 to 5. Okay. I see. That's a good point. You'll probably have to. I mean, Shuddhatma is the one who told me, so he's got to figure out. Okay, so some discussion going on here about the timing of the afternoon classes. That's what it is. Then finally, tomorrow may be our last satsang with me, because on Thursday and Friday we're keeping our fingers crossed that Swami Viditatmananda will agree to have the satsang here. We are both going to fall at his feet and say, Swamiji, My satsangs are very boring. Nobody wants to listen to me. Please do it. So Thursday and Friday I think we'll have Swamiji. Let's see. Yet to be confirmed, because he's coming back from Canada on Thursday. So I think he'll agree. So that's this. I have not talked to him about anything. I just saw him very briefly, so I don't know what his program is. But yeah, possibility. And hopefully tomorrow we will have a chanting of the 15th chapter at lunchtime when Swamiji is there. We are all bypassing it by just talking about Trump and other things, but tomorrow it will be a real lunch. Swami Pidhitatma, Swami Muktananda will be there. Yeah. All right. Good night, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.
No.